This is my 2005 GMC Yukon. Today I'm going to put on a set of JBA ceramic coated stainless steel Shorty headers, fresh set of spark plugs, and a set of MSD superconductor spark plug wires. Let's get at it. These are a very nice pair of stainless steel ceramic coated headers from JBA. They're wonderfully built. They've got the 3/8 flange, stainless steel with the ceramic coating, mandrel bent, very well built. JBA has what's called their fire cone collector. If you look in there, there's almost like a triangle pyramid where all four primaries come together in there. Basically make sure the exhaust flows very nicely into the collector. Everything I read recommended using OEM gaskets, so I got myself a set of OEM GM gaskets. I will link the part number in the video below. Get yourself a set of OEM GM exhaust manifold gaskets. I got myself a set of the ARP header bolts. These are the ones with the 3/8 flange relief in it. So that's going to be a nice little upgrade and make sure that those headers stay on for years to come. And because I'm removing the old spark plugs, I'm getting myself a set of brand new NGK TR55 GPs. These are pre-gapped and just perfect for the 5.3 LSs. Because it's been a very long time since I've changed mine out, I'm getting a fresh set of MSD superconductors. These are the 8.5 mil, and I will put a link in the description. These are made for the 99 to 05 GM LSs in the trucks. So these are a fresh set of MSDs. I'm using ultra copper for the donut side flange, and the other side uses a traditional style gasket that was included with the JBA kit. Okay, and here's a cold start with the original exhaust. It's got some leaks and it's factory manifolds, but here we go. Okay, everything I've read and watched about doing headers on these trucks is you take the front wheels off and you remove the fender liners, which are some clips and screws. So before I do that, I'm gonna pressure wash the area because I got some mud caked in here and I don't wanna miss any screws that would hinder me from taking off these fender liners. But once you have these fender liners off, it's super easy to access everything. You lift the vehicle up a bit, you take the tires off, and everything is right kind of in here and very easy to access with the fender liners out. So let's get at it. Okay, got the wheel wells on both sides pressure washed out, got all the mud off of all the fasteners. Now it's time to lift up the front end of the vehicle and take the front wheels off. Okay, as you can see, I got the front wheels off. Didn't want to bore you with any of me grunting and moaning, trying to take these heavy boys off. Now I'm going to take off the fender liners. That will give me access to all the header bolts in here. So just going to start by taking off all these clips, and we will get the fender liners removed and start taking these old manifolds out. So these are all the little clips I was talking about. You just got to pull. A lot of these are just pop clips. Some of these you have to squeeze with pliers because they have wire looms pinned in through here, and so you just got to get all these out, all the way around, all the way around, and you just have to take this inner liner out here. This is all one piece in here, so it should all come out, and then it gives you tons of access to all of the bolts and all of the stuff we need to undo for the manifolds. So let's get at it. You don't want to lose these things because you don't have to go buy a bunch of new ones. Got the wheel liner out, as you can see, and it is a bit of a rat's nest in here, but now you can see I've got access in there. See that's all the exhaust manifold stuff. That's some old tape, needs to be redone. And then, yeah, so I'm just gonna, this side's harder to do because you got your steering rack in the way, and then the exhaust collector is down in there. But yeah, we're gonna get at taking out the old manifolds, but everything I've heard about the driver's side is you wanna undo the collector first. So we're gonna head underneath the truck and see what we can get done. Okay, off camera, I've pulled the left bank spark plug cables. These are old NGK ones, and they are going in the bin. Wanted to free up all of the space in here and take out the old spark plugs because you definitely do not want to break them off when you're pulling off the old manifolds. Before we go down below and disconnect the collector, I'm going to pull the spark plugs out because you do not want to break them off while you're pulling out the old manifolds. So here we go. Okay, I pulled the 4 left bank spark plugs, and not surprisingly, they're in rough shape. The exhaust leak on the truck is in the headers, so it's not getting a proper reading at the O2 sensors. So, pulling these bad boys out, and they're gonna go in the bin, but I just wanna take a look at them, see if there's anything. These are all pretty cooked, so looking forward to a fresh set. And these ones are going, as Mighty Car Mod says, in the bin. Yesterday, I hit all of the nuts and bolts with some penetrating. Some people use PB plaster. This is just what Amazon had in stock and could get to me, so I'm using this one. Gonna hit it with a little bit more of that. So, there's the cats right there. And if you look right up here, there's one. There's 1, 2, and then there's one up on top. 3 collector bolts, and that's what we have to undo next. There's one on both sides. The other side looks a little different because it has a donut flange. But we're doing this side first because it's the hardest. So let's get at it. We're going to back these nuts off and then work on taking the old manifolds off the truck. Loosened up, just backing off the last nut. Careful when doing this because the exhaust may drop on your face, so don't be under it. There it is. Okay, that's the last nut. Okay, so we've got the collector bolts loosened off down below, and now what we're gonna do is go in and start backing off the manifold bolts from up top, and then, or even through the wheel well, and then just start working everything off and loosen everything up. They're going to jump over to the passenger side and do the passenger side because it's a lot easier to access. So we'll get that all buttoned up. But here we go. We're going to start backing off the original manifolds. So we've got all of the manifold bolts off from the driver's side, and we've just loosened up the collector, as you can see up in there. Backed off all those nuts, and now we're going to work the driver's side manifold out. So there's a couple ways to take the driver's side manifold out. One is through the bottom, which is a lot more difficult because you are fighting with the collector flange, the Y pipe, the cat, and the O2 sensor, which you definitely don't want to break. What I found and read and saw a bunch of videos on is the easiest way to do it is disconnect your steering shaft. It's one bolt. It comes apart very easily and it goes back together very easily. And it makes it so much easier for you to get the driver's side manifold out. So it's all backed off, got that undone, and now we're just pulling it out. So there it is, it's the driver's side manifold. This side had a little bit of a leak at the back, as you can see. It's pretty black around. That would be left bank, backmost cylinder, excuse me, that would be left bank, backmost cylinder up against the firewall. The other side had a crack in here, so that was broken there. That's why I'm replacing both. But yeah, these are a log style manifold. So you can see this is the log and each runner goes into one. So the problem is with this style of manifold is that it's not only restrictive, but it doesn't have good exhaust flow because this cylinder will fire into here, but then this cylinder will fire into the exhaust gases of this cylinder. And then these both will fire into the exhaust gases of this cylinder, creating turbulence. So there's turbulence, turbulence, and then this one will hit all three, creating turbulence, and then it's a very small collector. I mean, these things were built not for performance, but to be cheap and for fuel economy. The difference is quite noticeable with the log manifold. This is one continuous pipe from the first cylinder with all three feeding into it, and then there's the collector there. Whereas with the Shorty headers, each cylinder has their own primary tube, and they all meet at this really impressive collector. Okay, we've loosened the collectors on both sides. Now I'm gonna pull out the passenger side manifold. One comes out through the front pretty easily. There we are. We're gonna clean up the mating surface for the gasket in there. I'm gonna protect the spark plug ports, and I'm gonna just clean it up, vacuum everything as well. But yeah, keep it nice and clean while you're cleaning up all these ports along here. Those are all the exhaust ports from the heads, and right below them is the spark plug holes. Okay, I cleaned up the mating surface with a flap wheel with a vacuum, just making sure nothing was going in any of the cylinders. Made sure everything was nicely vacuumed out. I'm gonna get the fresh gasket, and we're gonna start getting the new stuff in. Here we go. Okay, we've got some of the ultra copper on the collector, and I've got my ARP. So with the gasket in place, we're gonna lower everything in gently. Actually, I'm just gonna get the header in first. I'm just gonna place the gasket on top of the block, on top of the intake for a sec. Just get the header in. So I'm gonna bring the gasket in. I'm gonna line it up. Line the gasket up. I'm gonna grab a bolt. And you wanna start in the middle. So I'm just gonna go with this guy here. Just locate everything. Just hand tighten that one up just enough to get some threads started. Oh, I almost forgot. So I'm glad I didn't thread anything in. I forgot to put anti-seize on the bolts. Got my little jar of Permatex anti-seize silver. I'm gonna put just a little dab on each header bolt. We've got one of the bolts in. Just gonna get another one to get it in to line it properly. We're gonna do one. The second one from the back. Make sure the gasket's lined up. Okay, now we have the headers hand tightened, and now we just gotta hook up the collector. Just double check the gasket material, and then we'll get the, we'll start bolting things up. Okay, I've got the collector tied into the factory Y pipe. I've got the gasket material in there, and now what I'm going to do is do the initial torque down of all of the ARP bolts, torquing them down to 11 foot-pounds, and then coming back after I tighten up the collector, and then make sure that's all torqued down. I don't want to tighten the collector down until I know I've got a good mating on the headers, and so I'm going to do an initial tighten, get it close to its initial 11 foot-pounds, and then tighten up the collector, and then come back and do the final torque down to 18 foot-pounds. And then I'll go and do the other side. So let's get at it. Okay, there's a lot of stuff in the way, but I'm gonna lower the driver's side header in. Just gotta kind of sneak it past the steering rack. It will go. There it goes, there it goes. Okay. Some down in there. Then come back in through the wheel well. And you want to put one of the center nuts in just to get it hung. You always start in the middle with the middle two nuts when you're tightening everything, but to hang them, you can just get them in and up. And then you work from the inside out. Okay, now we grab the gasket, and you want it down and manifold side. Okay. And you just slide this in. And you want to get it close. And then little dab of anti-seize on the threads. So that when these come out again, for whatever reason, it won't be a fight. Okay. So this is the tricky part, because you gotta kind of do. Okay, I'm gonna get that one lined up, coming around. Yep. Okay. Yep, we're off to a good start. That's the front. There it is. There's so many holes in the side of the block that you think are the right ones, but they are not. Okay, so now I'm going to put the rest of the ARP header bolts in and get them hand tightened. Okay. I'm going to put the one at the front on, because that one kind of lines everything up after you do the middle pivot one. So you got to kind of do it with your left hand. Okay. Get that gasket in place. Oh, yeah. Come on, baby. Oh, yes. The anti-seize also really helps get them in. Okay, it's getting dark, but we're keeping going. I've got everything buttoned up on the engine side. This is the passenger side. It's all buttoned up. Got the collector buttoned up. Everything's just hammered together. And then we've got everything torqued down. Gonna put the spark plugs in on the driver's side, and then put the spark plug cables in and fire it up. See what it sounds like for the first time. Okay, and don't forget to put your dipstick tube back in. Put a little Loctite blue on the nut, and rub a little oil on it just to get it into its hole down below. Next, we're gonna put the plugs on the driver's side, and then get all of the spark plug leads on, and then fire it up. Have the spark plugs in on the driver's side, and we are now going to put the spark plug cables on the driver's side, and then throw the spark plug cables over on the passenger side, and then double check everything, check for tools in the engine bay, then fire it up for the first time before we put the wheel wells back in. Okay, we have the wheels back on. Just did a quick dummy check, made sure there's no tools in the engine compartment. Just gonna torque the wheels back down and then fire it up for the first time. Okay. Just blowing off some steam. Smoking off. Doesn't sound like there's any leaks. It's gonna take some driving for the truck to recalibrate everything. It's been a while since this had a leak, so it will take a little bit of driving for the truck to figure out that there's not a leak anymore and balance out the fuel mixture. It's couple days later, but I just wanted to have a good outro. Thanks for watching the video. If you have any questions, ask in the comments below. This is my first time doing this kind of stuff. I'm by no means a pro, but that is basically the ins and outs of how you put headers on a 2005 GMC Yukon, but the same stuff applies to all of the 99 to 2006 Yukon, Tahoe, Suburban, all the trucks, the gas-powered 5.3s, 6 liters, and 4.8s. It all applies to that. So thanks for watching, and I'm going to finish this video off with a cold start in the snow.